This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 38, the movie review of Angry Birds. We will also be discussing the Finding Dory trailer. I'm Graham Ricks, and here with me is my friend and co-pilot, Ian Jones.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing all right. I have been incredibly busy lately. So much overtime. It's been ridiculous.
Oh, how about that?
Sometimes you just got to put in the overtime so things can get done. Me and you have been there many a times before.
Yeah, the real world. Well, I don't have to do that much now, thankfully.
Yeah. So the trailer for this week is Finding Dory. So the first thing I want to ask is, how good do you think this is going to be? Because
not at all. I don't think it's going to be good whatsoever. Just even from the trailer, it doesn't look good.
Right? It doesn't look that good. But then we've had this conversation before where Pixar tricks you. Like, you look at their trailers and they're like not that great, and then the movie ends up being really good. But here's my problem is when they do a sequel, their track record isn't necessarily that great, right?
No,
for sequels.
It isn't. And
like Toy Story is like the anomaly. Like Cars 2 is like not good. So
no, it isn't.
Yeah.
I guess the thing too is visually I don't see anything to me that makes it stand out more from the first one. Like it seems like she gets stuck in an aquarium and in an office building, and it just kind of seems like they already did that.
Yeah, right.
In Finding Nemo. So there's also kind of this other thing too, this nagging thing. As much as I love Ellen DeGeneres, she isn't really a movie star. So
no,
it's weird for me to see her carrying an entire movie. Like it really reminds me of Cars 2, where we don't get enough Lightning McQueen, and like that's a serious problem with the movie when you're following an idiot around for most of the time.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't mean to be mean, but it's sounding really mean. and I can tell you it's just going to get worse from here. But not related to our main subject. I'm feisty right now. So I think it's appropriate for Angry Birds. Like I feel like I have really thick eyebrows, even thicker than normal.
Nice.
So that's my view on this trailer. And
yeah, I'm very iffy about it. I really think it's definitely. I just feel like it's not going to be anywhere near as good as the original one. And you're right. There's nothing that really stands apart from the other one. And, I hate to break it to Pixar. You guys are great and I love you, but, Zootopia is going to win.
Zootopia should win.
Yeah.
The only thing that might take it out, and I don't know, every once in a while we get a little bit of a surprise, but I kind of like the trailer for, the Lakia movie.
That one.
Two strings. So
right.
This might be the year to let something else in.
I don't know. It would have to be really impressive.
Zootopia is really incredible.
It
but
is.
They may have a bit. They might have like a better story. Something that's a little bit different. It's kind of like when Spirited Away came in. Yeah. And I mean that's one of my favorite movies of all time is Spirited Away. And
Spirited Away is good.
Hayao Miyazaki just kicked Pixar's teeth in that year, and to his credit, his friend Lasseter at Pixar was just like, it's, and I think you got the DVD too. He did a forward for the movie, like a special intro, because he liked it so much.
Yes, he did.
And essentially his buddy took him out for an Academy Award, but you're Pixar and you're gonna win most of them anyway.
Yeah,
right?
You are. Yeah, that's true. It's very true. I forgot about that one for Leica. We'll have to do that one when it comes out. As much as I am very anti, stop motion, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, we're against it because, for one thing, is I think it's a terrible waste.
I think it is too.
I hate the idea that you could bump a table or a camera or a light bulb could go out on your set and you could lose a week or 2 weeks worth of work for 10 or 15 seconds of animation.
Yes.
And that may be putting it gently. But I also hate too because we come from a computer generated environment.
Yes.
There's this really negative connotation that those CG characters don't have the same integrity that real life models do, even though it's the same skill set.
It is the exact same skill set.
You don't punch buttons on a keyboard and make this to happen. You spend hours and hours of working in software that simulates things in that simulates sculpture, that you go back and forth on renders and lightings, and you have entire teams of guys working on this and working overtime and not seeing their families.
Yep.
And there seems to be this cloud around CG, which I think is appropriate when it's A, not good enough, and too much. And I think Hollywood is starting to sort of come around to where it needs to be a blend. It needs to be both of things.
Yes, it does.
And that's kind of where I like the new Star Wars. But I also had another issue with the new Star Wars, and that's when they started using puppets too much, and I had to see them move like stupid-ass puppets in The Force Awakens. That I have a problem with. Okay, the whole reason why we have visual effects, which are computer-generated effects,
yes,
is because of the original Star Wars.
Yes.
Because George Lucas started doing something in the 70s that we did not have the technology to do.
Yeah.
So an entire company, Industrial Light and Magic, basically had to be formed to take on these challenges.
Yes, and that's exactly why we have these companies out here doing this. And I agree with you. There is this almost a visceral reaction to CG stuff. And again, I agree. It has a lot to do with sometimes it's overdone and it should be a blend. And I think the best way to describe how things should be done, which is one of my favorite directors, Guillermo del Toro. And the way he says it makes so much sense, and for some weird reason other directors don't get it, but he goes, you use it when you need it, and you never use it as a cheat. If you can get it done effectively traditionally, you can do that, but you still need to do the CG when it's needed. Because sometimes you can't do a giant freaking robot that's just that's fighting and everything, that you can't actually do that traditionally and have it work out. But you also don't need to, you still want to have sets and environments so that these characters are actually strapped in, the actors are actually strapped into some sort of environment rather than just have it CG'd the hell out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You build as much as the set as you can, and you use practical stand-ins.
Yes.
But you do things like maybe you replace their face or their mouth so that they can have the proper articulation.
Yes.
And this is where Hellboy and Hellboy 2 are fantastic visually.
Yes,
because they do such a good job blending both things in really subtle ways.
Yeah.
You do it if you do it incorrectly, you end up with the Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Or or any number of bad movies where we definitely can tell it's a guy in a creature suit who can't bend his fingers properly.
Yeah.
And that pisses me off too. So you have to find the right blend.
Yeah. And I think you're correct. In Hollywood, I think is starting to get over this CG, like, I don't know, hangover or whatever, and they've actually tried to start putting more practical effects mixed in with CG, and I think that is the best way to do it. And, I mean, crap, we've gone on this tangent anyway, so
nice.
I mean,
Right.
Let's go ahead and end it there, and we'll take a quick little break, and then we'll get into Angry Birds. All right?
Let's play some music.
All right.
Heist music.
When an island populated by happy flightless birds is visited by mysterious green piggies, it's up to three unlikely outcasts, Red, Chuck, and Bomb, to figure out what the pigs are up to. This movie's directed by Clay Cadis and Fergal Riley. That's how I say those, I guess. Clay Cadis, like, these names are ridiculous.
Get out the banjo. I sort of glossed over this. I don't have anything to say about it, but oh wow. I'm thinking whenever they talk, they need subtitles under everything they say, like that show Moonshiners.
Like Moonshine.
And you're watching it and you're like, they're speaking English. This is the same country, and yet they have to subtitle everything these guys say. Because it's frontier gibberish.
Oh. God, that's fantastic.
Clay Cadis.
And Fergal Riley. I swear. I bet those two
Fergal?
are interesting to be around.
I know. The life of the party.
Clay Cadis apparently is an animator, and so these guys haven't really directed anything before, but he's been an animator in countless movies for years. And Fergal Riley has been a storyboard artist for years. So that's what those two guys are known for.
So we know where the problem is. All right. That's good.
Yes, we do, and we will get into that later.
We will get into that later.
So he's starring Jason Sudeikis as Red. He was in Hall Pass, Horrible Bosses, and Epic. Josh Gad as Chuck is in The Internship, Frozen, and Pixels, and Half Past Podcast is on record that we absolutely can't stand Josh Gad.
Pass.
Danny McBride as Bomb. He was in Pineapple Express, Tropic Thunder, and Your Highness. Maya Rudolph as Matilda. She was in Idiocracy, Grown Ups, and Bridesmaids. Bill Hader as Leonard. Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where he was the lead in that one. Peter Dinklage as Mighty Eagle. Mighty Eagle!
So the acting... Okay, you know what? We're going to get into this later.
Yes, we'll get into this later. He's in X-Men Days of Future Past, Underdog, and Game of Thrones.
He cannot do anything other than Game of Thrones. And I'm going to get into why. Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll let it go for now. I'm like so ready to go. You don't even know.
Sean Penn as Terrence. He was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Carlito's Way, and Milk. And this whole freaking movie... Why is Sean Penn in
I
this
don't
movie?
know. I didn't even know that he was until you sent me this.
Right?
Because I sure as hell didn't stay for those end credits. So I don't know if a dance scene broke out or what, but I did not. I always stay for credits, and I did not. If I could have leapt over the nice young couple that was blocking my exit, I would have.
Oh man, that is awesome.
I was so sure that I was going to step on her toes because, you know, she had to be in fucking flip-flops. So
I'm watching this movie and I'm like, okay, Terrence does one thing and that's like grumble. Like, that's it. Why is Sean Penn? Why pay the money? I don't.
Well, we can get into why on every single person in this cast.
The last one we have is Keegan-Michael Key as Judge Peckinpah. He's in Let's Be Cops, Tomorrowland, and Pitch Perfect 2.
I'm just going to say he's too good to be in something like this. I know he's in everything now.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff now.
He sold his soul to the devil, so now they have to put him into every movie that Kevin Hart isn't in.
In some instances, they're in the same movie, isn't it?
and then the universe implodes. Have they been in? I haven't. Obviously their movies are terrible.
Well,
I'm just going to continue on this negative thing. I have yet to see a good movie with either of them in it.
Although I've heard good things about Keanu, which looks terrible.
Oh yeah.
But like, the critics are saying that movie's actually pretty good. So I don't know.
Maybe it's one of those guilty pleasure. I mean, obviously we're not going to. In this jam-packed summer, we can't get to everything, and so we're trying to pick and choose our battles based on what we think we're going to have the most to talk about.
Yes. So we'll have to see. I might actually rent it when it comes out just to see what everybody's talking about.
So Graham's going to give it a rent it right now because that's what he is in fact doing it. Everyone rent it.
Oh,
we didn't see it, but rent it. Neither did you. Neither did you. So rent it.
All right. So that was the last character. So let's go ahead and get into the next section because clearly you need to go off. So let's go ahead and just take a quick break so that we can get into this. All right. All right, now we're back with our Quirks and Likes section. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing I want to say is this might be bias showing, but I think it's just a fact, and Josh Gad is annoying as hell in this movie.
He isn't even the problem with this movie.
Absolutely one of the most annoying characters in the movie. And you know what makes it worse is that the fact that you even say that is very telling of this movie. And it's not just him, though. Like, all the characters...
It's all the characters.
...are annoying. It's like that hugging guy that comes up. What's the point of this character?
All the characters suck.
That freaking mime that comes up? What is the point of this character? The yoga instructor type? Like, they're all bad. There's no good characters. They're all bad. There's nothing to show. The only one that's even remotely decent is Red, and that's not saying much at all because he's not even that great either.
Actually, that's pretty terrible because for starters, not to jump all over your thing, but he is the star of the movie. Red is the star of the movie.
Yes.
And so for there to be, to me, everyone was like, no one was actually doing a character. I thought that maybe Maya Rudolph and Josh Gad were a little bit, but why do you have a bunch of character actors in a movie where they aren't acting like characters? Like, they're just like, we got to blow through this. We got other stuff to do. Come on, get the lines out. And we'll just get it to the animators. And
Yes.
whether or not they match up vocally.
This is the vocal performances in this movie are completely lacking. There's just nothing. There's nothing there. And that's kind of the whole movie, though. So I don't even know what to say.
Analogous for the rest of the movie. Okay.
And so, along with that, and maybe I'm just being Grandpa Graham over here, but how many scenes do you think are in this movie that's like more than a second or two? Like, it seems like there's like all the cuts are just lightning fast. It's like I spent the whole time and it felt like I was watching a fight scene through the entire movie. Like, they never sit still at all.
Well, there isn't enough, and that's sort of the problem. There isn't even enough meat on the bones for them to stay still in a single shot.
And so it's ridiculous. Like, so what is going on with this movie? Like, it's like I feel like it could have been better, but there's just so much crap that's just like, what is going on with this movie? And the other, like, okay, let's just go and get involved with like the other really weird little just idiosyncrasies of this freaking movie, which is like, when in the hell did these birds get powers? When did that happen? Like, all of a sudden the yoga instructor is able to shoot little pink fireball things. Like, where did that didn't come up at all through the rest of the movie? What's going on?
Right, I mean, like I guess it's sort of a Zen thing or whatever, but they really don't set it up. And it's funny, I didn't even think about that. Like, I mean, that seems like such an obvious thing.
Yes.
I mean, really, the one thing they set up is because Red has a line where he looks at the toucan. And he's like, I think I saw you do something once.
Yeah.
And that's because there was like a boomerang scene. But it was so fast. But, if you play the game, you know what that little guy is supposed to be.
Yes. And you definitely get the hint of Josh Gad's character, freaking Chuck, who's really fast, because he is fast through the whole thing. So him being able to speed up kind of makes sense. Bomb makes sense because they set that up too. But the whole yoga instructor thing comes out of nowhere. And there's like this one other scene earlier in the movie where the bird that can like get real gigantic, and blow up or whatever. And like there's one other scene in there otherwise, but none of this is explained. Is you're just like, well, what the hell is going? Like, what is this? It's just like they're throwing all in there. Another little idiosyncrasy of this freaking movie is, why in the hell are the pigs creating so much TNT, and why in the hell is it just on the bottom of their entire village?
Right.
What
or
is
in
going on
the
with
ships
that
they rode in.
Yeah,
to get
or
there.
in the ships where they, like, where's all this TNT coming from, and why is it everywhere?
Well, and I'll give you one better. Let's say that they ate all those eggs.
Yeah.
Because they were going to basically do it for lunch, and like a dozen of them were going to enjoy it.
Yes.
They've blown the village to smithereens.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have any more freaking eggs. I mean, it's just like, it's so poorly thought out.
Yes.
From a plot standpoint, that I think they really needed to think about what kind of story that they were telling, and not just do something to do something. And my argument would be that they did something to do something. It just doesn't feel like it was well thought out at all.
No, it wasn't well thought out at all. And the thing is like, to me, when I left the movie theater, I was thinking, I'm like, I feel like there is a story there somewhere. Like, you could probably pull this off with what they had, it still would not have been good, but I feel like it could have been better. Like if we would have had more of a build-up between the evolution of the birds being happy and flightless to becoming angry birds, there's a story there somewhere that could work. But really, you have Red, who's the angry one, and then he's the one that's saying that these pigs are a problem, and nobody believes them because they're all happy-go-lucky. And then the transition happens after they get destroyed. The pigs take all their eggs and destroy half the freaking, town or whatever. And then they go immediately to how they are now angry and that they need to be angry. And so everything in between there is actually pointless. There's no other build up to the rest of the movie. The entire scene, all the scenes with the mighty eagle could just be cut from the film. Like that whole sequence of them finding him is pointless. There really is no point to that. Like it would be nice, like it's like all this stuff, they have all this stuff on there, and I feel like there's enough to where you could get some sort of comprehensive story, but they don't do it at all. Like it would be nice if you had Mighty Eagle actually try to help them and then come back, and then that's a part of the story where they decide Mighty Eagle is the one who's actually, the reason why the village was saved before was because you have to get angry or something. Red's correct or whatever you need to do so that there's some sort of transition and some point to him even being in the movie. But there isn't anything there. And so it's just the whole movie has this huge problem where it is very, very poorly thought out. And you're correct with that. And it's just a freaking mess. The entire movie's a mess. And so I don't know what the hell is going on. And I just don't understand it. I don't get it. The only other thing I have here is that I thought Red was just like okay. I mean, all the vocal performances are terrible, but I thought Red as a character was like okay, but that's really terrible when he's the main character. And then I thought the vocal performance of like Judge Peckinpah with Key was like okay. Everything else was just this movie's just so lacking, man. I don't know.
Well,
what else do you got?
Well, let's talk about Red for a second, since he is the main character,
yes,
and he's a big part of the problem with this movie.
Yeah,
he has no growth. Like he goes from being an outcast, someone who literally does not care about these eggs, about the other birds, who moves out of the town as far away as he could get without leaving the island. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't trust these pigs. The pigs destroy his home. Otherwise, he would have just stayed in there and not helped them. And he doesn't really have a moment where, like there is no revelation for him to see the light or to want to grow personally.
Yeah,
he goes from, it's just like a snap. He goes from being a jackass the entire time.
Yes.
To all of a sudden he's supposed to be their hero. Yes. And everyone's going to follow him.
Which is exactly my point, where I feel like when I was talking about earlier, if he takes this journey to Mighty Eagle, it seems like that should have been the time, right?
Right.
That should be the transition. That scene with Mighty Eagle, that would make sense to me. Where if he was actually the wise Mighty Eagle and actually explained to him why it's important, or even that when he was younger, he was Red, and he had to change and evolve, and that's why they're as successful as they are, and that's why people praise him currently, is because he needs to understand that. And I'm like to me, that would have been some sort of better plot, so that we can get this evolution of the character, and it's just not there.
No, it isn't. Yeah, and it really does a disservice to the movie, and it seems to me like it's a big glaring problem, even in a kids movie.
Yes.
And again, I would make the argument that animated films are never supposed to be kids movies. That's sort of the mandate that has been passed down from generations to generation.
Yes.
Ever since Steamboat Willie. Yes. So if you look at it that way, these other studios are really missing the mark, I think, for the most part. And this is a huge problem. We didn't go and see Norm of the North, but I would imagine...
I'm sure that one has the same problems.
I'm sure it has all the same problems and more.
Yeah.
But this one really suffers from a lack of a plot, a lack of character development, and it seems like at least that they should figure out.
Yes.
Because they had the character there. I mean, he's red, they didn't even bother, no one was around to even name him, to give him an actual name. They just named him the color that he was.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me says everything about that character, and I want to see that character get redeemed. And, it's like I want to be invested in a character like that. Yeah. I don't want to see him go from all of a sudden being a jackass to, we got to do everything to get these eggs back, when he clearly doesn't care about anyone or anything the entire time.
Yes, he doesn't.
And he isn't even trying to belong anymore.
No, he isn't. So
it just, that part was really frustrating to me. And I get that every movie is not going to be, Pixar or Disney.
Yes.
So that isn't the issue at all. And certainly we've seen plenty of animated movies that, they clearly don't have the same people. They don't have the same studio. They don't have that pedigree.
Yeah.
But they do a better job of character development.
Yes.
So I think it really fell short there. And it just led to problems throughout the rest of the movie.
Yep.
So some of those other problems, they do a total cheat where they steal a gag from Over the Hedge and X-Men and probably a bunch of other things. and I'm so pissed that they did this, because they didn't even do anything better or add anything new to it. But that was with this stupid Chuck character, which again, I don't even have an issue with Josh Gad in this movie. But the fact that they stole that gag from Over the Hedge, where he's just like running and everything's slow motion, and he's just setting everything up, and it just isn't even funny or as original, and it adds nothing to it.
No, it doesn't.
It just blew me away. I so wanted to leave. And the thing is I wanted to leave from the very beginning. You mentioned how the film was edited, because everything was really quick cuts.
Yes.
The film starts off with basically everything you've seen in the trailers. And I thought, this doesn't bode well.
No.
Because it starts off with this montage, and the montage is everything you've already seen. So yes. I have a huge problem with that. And the montage itself, from an editing standpoint, because I spent so long as a video editor, makes no sense. It doesn't tell a story.
No, it doesn't.
As a matter of fact, it isn't until the very end that you see that he was an unclaimed egg that hatched as a baby. Throughout the entire montage, he's switching ages. He's like in school, he's out of school, he's an adult, and he's being a dick to everyone. And you don't see why until the very end, but that last thing at the end should be the thing that makes you get the character on your side.
Yes.
And then he never has that turn.
No.
Like the fact that he's an unclaimed egg that was simply named after the color that he was. When, even the big guy got a name like Terrence.
Which is what's so frustrating with Red, because it's like, you want to care about him, and had the movie started off better, where he was a little more dejected because he's an unclaimed egg, all of this, everything makes sense. So like if you start off with that and not have the ridiculous all the other montages that mixed up because he jumps in age so much, if you realize that he is just an unclaimed egg and that they just name him Red because that's his color, it explains his character through the whole thing, why he's not attached to the village, why he's not attached to all the other birds, and why he doesn't give a crap, because he's an unclaimed egg that nobody cared about. And if you actually have that as the montage, which starts the movie really depressing, but this is something that Pixar does and it works. It gets you it gets you involved with the character immediately. And I get that it starts depressing, but it works. And then if he evolves over time and you realize that he actually gains and gets redeemed at the end, and that he actually realizes that because of him, he's the thing that's actually really important to the plot and to help saving the village. And then he has the revelation with Mighty Eagle, and then that's what turns him into the third act where he actually saves the village. That would be a full plot and story of the character. So it's like, the thing that I have a problem with this movie is that's one of the problems. It's like everything's there. Why the hell didn't they do it right? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if this is going to be your one shot and you're going to get credit for doing having a production credit at the end that says Roxio Animation.
Rovio? Is it Rovio or Roxio? I think it's Rovio.
It's Rovio. You're right. So let's pretend that it matters because I don't think they're going to get another shot here.
Well, I mean, didn't Sony ImageWorks do a lot of this?
Well, I think it was all Sony. It certainly felt like Sony, but you put up a certain amount of money to get your name on there.
Yeah.
Or, maybe that was just part of the contract negotiations for the rights. But it just seems like, like we've often talked about, you and I, how much we want to see a Halo movie, and they're being fiercely protective. That the gal who's in charge of that franchise is being tremendously protective over it because she wants it to turn into something really big, and so they've been taking their time, and hopefully that pays off. And I don't know, maybe they just waited too long to do an Angry Birds movie, and they should have pushed it out sooner,
probably,
than this, because we've been spoiled by now Pixar and Disney separately doing really good movies.
Yes.
And not to forget that DreamWorks is also really doing well, even though they're in sequel after sequel.
Yes.
So the movie, like, I was just thinking about it. We had our issues with the movie Minions, but Minions is far better than this.
Yes, it is. So, right, and a lot of the problems are similar in Minions because, I mean, this movie, Angry Birds, is clearly a kid's movie, and so is Minions, but Minions just does it better. So, like I don't even know what to say. Like, one of my problems with the movie, which is kind of just me observing the audience, because we're animators, we've been to a ton of animated movies. A lot of them, because it's, it's what we love and it's what we've enjoyed doing and it's what we learned. And so the thing is one of the things I always try to make a note of is how the audience reacts for these animated movies. People go to these animated movies and they take their kids, and because it's a family movie and it's one of the movies that they can take their kids to go see.
Correct.
One of the things that I always take note is how kids' attention maintains throughout the movie. Because if you're going to make a kids movie and that's your only that's the only thing you're trying to do, you should be able to at least keep the child's attention to the movie the whole time. This movie doesn't do that. There were kids running around like crazy because they know how bad it is also. Right. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Pixar doesn't do that. When Pixar is on there, the kids are sat there and they don't say a goddamn word. And they're into the movie, even though a lot of the stuff they don't understand, it's almost like the kids can tell the quality. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's like, this movie doesn't do that. The kids were like running around like they were just uninterested. And so it's like, well, what's going on here with this movie? And it's like they know it's bad. I don't know. This movie has got some serious problems. Do you have any more quirks?
Yeah, I do. But maybe I can condense it just a little bit. I thought, because we're going to try to get through some likes here.
Yeah.
But I thought a really big problem with this thing is that the comedy just isn't there. So to me, the funny, like, the movie just isn't funny at all. No. I think there was one scene I laughed at, and I tried to make a mental note of it, and then I forgot it. And in fact, the issue that I had with it is there are so many bird pun and pig pun related things, like stuff about bacon or like scrambled eggs. Like, I tried to remember just one that I thought was atrocious, and then it was followed by bad joke after bad joke, and it like poorly written jokes to where I don't even have one to share with you. Like they were cringe-worthy things.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me of those Smurf movies where everything's Smurf this and Smurf that.
Yeah.
Like they started getting into that cadence.
Yes.
And I was like, no, that's also Sony too. So I was like, this isn't, all of a sudden this is like there's no need for this.
Yeah.
Especially with something like Angry Birds where you think there would be a bunch of sight gags. So just to roll that into the next thing, why is it that the video game aspect is saved for the very end? Why isn't there more of this fun sort of thing where maybe we see them and I don't know what they would be doing on the island, but the actual game aspect of it where you're shooting birds with slingshots isn't until the very end.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of the fun thing.
Yeah.
And maybe they could have found some other way to work that in, with the exception of, characters blowing up for one scene here or there.
Yeah.
To show what they're capable of. Like, it just seems to me like if you're going to have an island for them, which I thought was also really uninspired.
Yeah.
Couldn't they be doing, I don't know, couldn't they be slingshotting themselves through the trees, or like, why would the pigs even give them a freaking slingshot when they don't have the ability to fly?
I know, right?
So that was running through my head too. It's like they have no technology. They have no way of getting the eggs back. And let's just say that those pigs really savored the eggs. They blew up their village. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make
They would have
sense.
eaten those eggs all in one sitting. And those aren't even the kind of eggs that you want to eat, which was also really disturbing to me.
Nice.
You don't want to eat those ones. So, oh man. All right, that's it. I could complain. Oh, well, you know what? I do have one more complaint because needs to be said. Peter Dinklage sucks.
Come on.
I am such a huge fan. Hang on. I'm such a huge fan of his on Game of Thrones. Every time I see him in something else, he's terrible. But more specifically, he is terrible in anything he has to do vocal performances for.
Yes, he is.
He was in that game. What was that game that you played?
It was Destiny, and he's not good.
He's not good.
They actually replaced him.
Yes, they replaced him with the guy who does the voice for Uncharted, right?
Nolan North, I think.
So he was terrible in that. He's terrible in this. In fact, he's so bad in this that throughout the entire, I didn't know he was in the movie, and again, I didn't stay for the credits because I would have left earlier if I could have. Like, God, someone give me a fork to shove it in my ear so I don't have to listen to any more bacon-related puns. But he's so bad that I actually thought he was that Ready to Rumble guy. You know, Michael Buffer or Bruce Buffer. Which one is it? It's, you know, the Buffer brothers.
Yeah, the Buffer brothers. You're talking
just
about
like he has no inflection to anything he says.
No,
he's just the worst vocal actor.
He is like really bad.
Like he works in Game of Thrones and then nothing else.
Yeah,
like he doesn't work.
Don't
in anything
disagree
else.
with you.
God, his acting is so terrible. Why do they keep putting him into animated things? Like, it's kind of funny that the littlest guy is the biggest character, but not when I'm sitting there thinking, God, why do they have the Ready to Rumble guy doing this?
God damn it!
Like, oh no, this guy is the lead in the biggest show on television. That's right, the lead. You know, he got the Emmy, and they made him the lead. That's right, top billing on Game of Thrones. Yep. And the guy cannot do voice work, cannot do an animated character to save his life.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. He'd get stabbed in Westeros. If they said, hey, do this, you know, try to do a good vocal job with this
it is bad
CG dragon, he would die. He would get stabbed. All right. Sorry, Dinklage.
You know, I don't disagree with you. Like, I can't defend it because every time he does the vocal performance, it's terrible.
He sucks at vocal performances.
Yeah, he's terrible. All right, well, I guess we're gonna get into the likes if we have any. Okay, I guess one of my likes is they didn't necessarily dance it off. That was nice. You know my opinion on that for animated movies. I absolutely hate when they don't know how to end a movie and they decide to just dance it away. Now, was there a dance scene at the end of the movie? Yes, there was during the credits, which you probably didn't survive to. But the movie did have a legitimate ending, so I was kind of okay with it. There's only one scene I can think of that I thought that actually got a good chuckle out of me, which was the scene where that hugging character that I absolutely hate through the whole movie, who by the way gets more redemption than Red.
Now that's interesting. Because no one likes that guy. He might be the one character that's least liked than Red. So,
but with that said,
he does, doesn't he?
With that said, there's a scene where Red is talking to everybody, and he's like, "Who the hell takes children? Do you take children? Do you take children?" And then he points at the hugging guy, and he goes, "Well, you look like you would do that." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." Because he's freaking creepy, and he's creepy the whole time. And so it makes total sense that they would just reference that. And that got like a little chuckle out of me, and that was about it. The only other thing I have to say is the animation overall is like okay, but it's not great. It's just when you see something like Norm of the North, which is where I put this type of movie when it comes to quality, the animation is actually better than that. You know, it's up there. It's at least better than you normally see with these types of movies that don't have like a really good story or whatever behind them and a good studio behind them. And so I think ImageWorks does a pretty decent job with their animation. That, you know, the animation is not the problem with the movie, just everything else is. Mm. So that's all I have, man.
You know, I liked they did a couple of traditional animated sequences with Mighty Eagle that were like over the top and exaggerated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, was one of the scenes where I saw a few people just walk out of the movie.
Really? So, you know, I like those scenes. I don't think I liked much else because I just have that one sentence.
Oh.
Wow, did I not? I certainly prepared on one side of this. Okay.
Well, I guess that's it then.
I can tell you that I get to use a very special graphic for this.
Okay.
In the video, well, but I'm debating on whether or not we should even do the video for this.
Oh wow, really?
No, we will. We will.
Okay.
I feel like the podcast is going to be entertaining enough. I hope it is, and it isn't just a downer because I had fun pointing out everyone else's mistakes, and you know, even though I'd much rather this have been just great, and that you know I could have had a lobotomy first and really enjoyed this lack of character development and creativity, which I really find offensive.
Yeah.
I think maybe the most offensive thing I find about this movie is that it shows a complete, utter lack of creativity in everything.
Yep.
Like I didn't see one thing visually that I thought was creative. The best thing they had was I think in the pig's ship or room or something. There was something like someone was wearing a shirt or someone made a reference to John Hamm.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was like the best. But why not just have him in the movie?
That's terrible. Well,
it's kind of like Ray Liotta being in B-movie. Or it's just like, wait a minute, Ray Liotta. And then like Ray Liotta's on the stands. But, you know, that's also one of those that suck.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, I guess we're going to go ahead and rate it, even though everybody knows where we stand.
Donkey.
where we stand on it. I think this movie is definitely a kid's movie. And like I said earlier, if you're going to make something that's just a kid's movie, you need to at least be interesting enough to where the kids can watch the movie.
So yeah, that's a problem.
So
even with brightly colored birds around the screen.
The fact that it couldn't even keep a kid's attention, which I understand sounds crazy for me to say, but like I see a lot of animated movies and only the bad ones can't keep a kid's attention. You know, it is a glaring problem with this movie. And I feel like that was the bottom line, like that was the bottom of the barrel that they needed to accomplish. And so this movie's awful. So skip it.
I'm going to say that anyone else offering Peter Dinklage a vocal job needs to take that contract and this movie, stuff it into a trash can, and burn it in the middle of downtown LA with the rest of the garbage can fires. And I think and I'll also say this. I will also say this. I think you should go back in to this podcast and add some bleeps every time I talk, just so that it's a little bit more interesting.
Nice.
So that every other word is just like beep.
There's no way in hell
like
that I'm going to do that.
Tirade.
You know I do the bare minimum when I edit the podcast.
Right. Kind of wish there was just like a little thing where I could just bleep myself right here.
All right, let's sign out. If anybody wants to contact us and tell us how we're basically right on point at how terrible this movie is,
please do.
You can always get a hold of us at halfpastpodcast.com.
Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes and Google Play.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com. Halfpastcast. I feel like we've had emails that's halfpastpodcast
at gmail.com. It ain't going to us.
It's not
going to us.
It's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
Because some other jackass has halfpastpodcast@gmail.
Yep.
That's why. Tweet us at halfpastpodcast.
Thank you for listening and thank you for support. Later this week, we'll have the nice guys if you want to do it. Do you want to do that one?
I do want to do that.
Do you want to do that one?
This is my sexy voice.
All right. So later this week, we'll have the nice guys. And then next week, we're going to have X-Men Apocalypse. So that'll be coming up after that. Got anything else to say about this terrible movie before we sign out here?
They gave me a pin.
Yeah?
A little tiny pin for showing up and seeing that movie of Red. And I think had I sat on it, it might have made the movie better.
What?
It would have made it more enjoyable because at least then I could say, well, at least it's not this pain in my ass. Suddenly, sitting through Angry Birds doesn't seem so bad. Jason Sudeikis is trying to carry an animated movie. There aren't enough animators in the world to make this happen.
This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
See you next flick.
Oh.